Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a place where creatives share their stories. My name is Galina Marquez, and I have another cool story prepared for you today, so let's get to it. Hello and welcome to the last interview of season 4 of In the Art Scene podcast, and I am having a very special guest. I was kind of hunting, not specifically for her, but for someone with her experience and expertise in a certain area of art business, which is NFT. I know I had only one episode on NFT. It was a while ago, and probably a lot of people missed it. And it was from a little bit of a different perspective. So I'm happy to introduce you to Emily Drewry. Do I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, actually.
Yes. From the company, a fairly new company called Voice.com, which is specifically fine art NFT company with a totally different approach from what you guys can hear on the internet. So let's start with introducing you properly. So
Great.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited for this conversation. So I'm Emily. I lead marketing for Voice. I've been with the company for almost 2 years now. Though our platform is even newer than that. It's only a few months old at this point. I basically focus on spreading the word both about what Voice is doing as a company and what we're building from a marketplace perspective, but then also I have the opportunity and the delight to spread the word about the fantastic artist community that exists on Voice and help grow that community and make sure that people are finding success in the NFT space. So lots to talk about here very excited to share my experience with you.
Well, welcome to the podcast. And the first question I want to ask you has nothing to do with NFT. Do you have any art background yourself?
No, I do not. I come from a media background, actually, from a journalism in training, spent a lot of time in the media publishing world, and ended up at Voice because initially Voice's first product was a tokenized social media platform. And so that aligned really nicely with my skill set. And, I've done community building throughout my career. And so when the product pivoted from this social media platform to an NFT marketplace, we found that it was really helpful to have somebody from a not art background who's able to kind of help translate what's happening in this space to people who are looking to enter the art world. So really using that as kind of like my superpower in communicating to people that it's not too late to get into the art world, even if you've never explored before. But I do also heavily rely on members of my team who come from an art background. 2 women on my team have previously worked at galleries. One of them has worked at various organizations that kind of I would say make up part of the art world. So there's a lot of expertise that we have that I learned from, but I personally wish I'm not an artist myself and have not worked in the world before.
So how are you feeling yourself working with artists? Our community sometimes can be crazy, I know.
It has been such a delight though, because the creativity and the unique expertise of every single artist that I've met and worked with has just been stunning. And I've worked with creators or influencers or people in not the art world, but kind of who also produce for a living. And so it's been I'm able to translate some of those skills, but then definitely I'm learning a lot continuously about kind of how things always work, how people wish things worked. And so, it's definitely an evolving experience for me, but it's been a delight.
Well, glad to hear that you're such an advocate for our community. Alrighty. So we spoke a little bit offline before started recording. What's in the agenda for this interview? And it's my personal, should I say, problem. I have been watching very carefully the NFT market unraveling in the art world, and I am heavily skeptical about that. Having a marketing background myself, and now being involved full time in the art community, it really concerned me when a lot of artists started jumping onto NFT without really having any support or understanding how that works. And I know that Voice is making that much easier, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But NFT is something like, this is a totally different concept. This is a blockchain situation that not that many people understand without having a lot of a digital background and economic background, right? Let alone artists. So can you please tell me a little bit about where this industry is right now and what that means for artists, how that works? So since you're a translator from that language to our language.
No, that's a great question, and I feel like I already have. Yeah, I really appreciate the angle that you're coming to this conversation with like a healthy skepticism, and like a protectiveness of artists is what I'm really sensing. Because I think the way that the world got introduced to NFTs didn't necessarily give the technology the best rep, right? When many of us first started hearing about it, and like when NFT started making headlines, it was because of these like massive sales of individual pieces of art, or because of these collections that offered exclusivity, but also like there was a little bit of like scamminess, vibes to it. And now, of course, like as the industry has exploded, there's just a lot going on, and I think that it's actually very smart to tread carefully into a new industry like this. But what I always want to say is to kind of separate out like NFTs from blockchain, from crypto. Like those are all separate concepts, really. Like what I think of, the technology offered by an NFT really allows you to make an asset sellable, right? So if you kind of like strip away all of the noise of what's happening with these kind of massive collections and platforms, is really like you have a digital asset that you previously could not sell to someone, and now you can. And so if you look at it that way, it feels a lot different, right? It feels more not just approachable, but also beneficial to the art industry, because it's actually expanding the art market. I think I have a few predictions, and also kind of like, where the space is now. As you asked, like the last few years have been really crazy. There's been growth. There's been a lot of attention. With a lot of attention comes a lot of bad actors. I think that right now we're in the period of kind of like sifting through a lot of noise. And I think in the next few years, what we're going to see is a lot of stabilization of what the technology has to offer, and which platforms and initiatives are kind of building truly for the benefit of artists and creators, and which ones are kind of got into it for the hype and a quick buck. So from Voice's perspective, we are purely focused on artists, right? Like the way that we've built our platform is we only make money as a platform if our artists make money, right? And so we are hyper focused on building for the long haul. Like we're not worried about, or not interested in like the speculative nature of tokens. We're really looking to the art world and saying, okay, here, what is something that you, as a video artist, you couldn't do before? Now you can have collectors and build a practice in that regard. So I think right now what's happening is that more and more people are getting interested, but they're really just not sure where to begin. And again, that's why we built a platform that is, if you kind of look at it, you wouldn't know that it's blockchain. It feels like a marketplace that you would buy something like that is very familiar. You buy with a credit card, and that's very purposeful to kind of introduce people to the concept of buying and selling digital goods. And then if they want to go further into the space, that's fantastic. But we want to make sure that people aren't getting left behind, because the technology is fantastic. Just the execution is all over the place right now. It's a very long-winded answer.
It's okay. It's okay. So I gotta ask you a follow-up question before I move forward. So how do we as artists uh, should look out for those bad actors and scammers? Because I personally get tons of messages on Instagram because I'm following like hashtag NFT just to kind of uh, keep my eyes open on what's going on. I have so many messages like, hey, we're starting this, and you're gonna earn that, and blah blah blah, just mint with us. So I personally I just delete everything. uh,
That
but
actually
but
would be what I would say to do right now. If you're getting outbound from anything, it's probably not something you want to participate in. I think that the projects, the organizations, the platforms who are again trying to go about this the right way are taking the approach of like, here's what we do, here's what we stand for. Please come to us when you're comfortable. Obviously, like that's not to say we're not marketing, we're not, um, you know, going out there and looking for more folks to bring into the mix. But the way that we are doing that is through processes like residencies and community building, and really making sure that people know that they can trust us. I think that unfortunately social media and anything related to NFT right now is just not safe. Like it's really dangerous because people are taking advantage of the like relative lack of understanding that some people have. So I think you're doing the right thing to be skeptical of inbound, and just really making sure that you're patient as you do enter the space. You're not going to miss out. Like this is going to be here for a while, and it feels like contradictory as somebody who's in marketing who is like come on board, let's all get into NFTs. But I also think that I would rather have people take their time and do it the right way and then stick around than have somebody rush into it and not feel supported.
well, I really appreciate you validating my point of view, that if someone is offering you a silver bullet, there's probably no silver bullet, and it's probably a scam. So for everyone who's listening, listen to Emily. Take your time, talk to people, real people. Don't listen to all the DMs that fall into your DM box on Instagram.
Exactly. Well, and this is why I do conversations like this, right? Is so that people know there's a real human behind what we're doing at Voice. It pays off because I think like so many people are skeptical, and they should be. I'm trying to be out there as like a protector of the opportunity offered by NFTs, and I just don't want anyone to get caught up in something that is detrimental to them.
Well, on behalf of the art community, thank you. Appreciate it, really. So you mentioned that this is a marketplace that is kind of understandable and very comfortable from the user experience perspective. So would you say it's like as easy as Etsy, or yeah?
Yes, actually, I love that you made that comparison because that's a comparison I make a lot. That we're kind of like an Etsy for digital art. So even the creation of an NFT, you can do in 4 steps, and it takes maybe 30 seconds. And it's free. So there isn't any, some of the other creation of NFT platforms, you have to pay gas fees. But for here, you can upload it, no problem. It feels kind of like posting to Instagram. And then when you're collecting, when you're browsing, purchasing, it does feel a lot like Etsy. Obviously, we're newer, so we're not quite as robust of a platform, but checking out with your credit card is the same as any online merchant.
So you mentioned that it's free for artists to join. So that means that you are taking some percentage off of the sale, right?
Correct. Yeah. So our platform fee is 5% on primary sales, which is from what I've seen pretty standard across the board. We really wanted to make sure. I mean, I think some folks take a higher percentage, but again, we're not in it for the money making right now. We're building for the long term. So it's like we only get paid when creators get paid.
That's awesome. Well, then let's talk. This is a perfect segue. Let's talk a little bit more in details how voice.com is working. What artists should expect. the percentage of digital artists and let's say an analog artists that you have on the platform. And then I have some other questions about your community building processes and everything, because that sounds really amazing. Because imagining the NFT platform that creates residencies for artists, that's something unheard of. So, right, let's just talk about voice.com.
Yeah. So how it works, I would say that again, we took the effort to build something that we saw a gap for in the market, which was an easy to use digital art marketplace. And a few, I mentioned the credit cards already. We are a carbon neutral platform because of the blockchain we use, which is a really big, important factor for us, I think, and a lot of the folks who are on our platform as well. One of the major qualms for getting into the NFT space is the environmental impact. And so to be able to offer that alternative is really, a great opportunity. So we also have an emphasis on what we are thinking of as kind of an equalizing opportunity for anybody who wants to get into the digital art space. And what I mean by that is that anyone can create an account. You don't need to have an invite or have any sort of previous status. And we purposely curate, we have a curation team on staff who works on really making sure that talented art and artists, are given the opportunity to succeed. I think a lot of the times, people who already have kind of cachet are having success with NFTs, of course. But what about the people who haven't necessarily made a name for themselves? They deserve just as much to make it in the NFT space. So we have a huge focus on individuals from underrepresented communities because we already see the NFT space kind of following the path of the traditional art industry, and we're really focused on making sure that our community and the curation that we do is extremely inclusive 365 days a year. So it's a little bit about how our marketplace works. And then what was the second question as a part of that? How the marketplace works?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of jump in the middle here. So you mentioned that you're helping talented individuals who are not necessarily widely represented or don't have a lot of following or already kind of their own marketing on the rail, help to succeed. So how do you do that? So how do you promote them somehow?
Yeah, absolutely. So our homepage is curated by a team of humans. It's not algorithmic. And so we do honestly look at everything that we possibly can on our site, making sure that the high quality art is surfaced through both the homepage. We have, our standard marketing channels, right? Social media, email, etc. That we, make sure to highlight these artists as much as possible. And then the residencies and the I'll get into the residencies, but I guess the other thing is we have an education hub that we put together that's specifically built to allow people to make sure that they're getting all the information they need, how to find success. So while we can't individually connect one-on-one with every person, we want to make sure that they have the tools in order to do what they need to do.
That sounds very helpful. So yeah, I wanted to ask you how many digital artists, like native digital artists versus analog artists you have on the platform, because you mentioned video artists, photographers, there are artists who are working exclusively in the digital space, like visual art. I know that there are some artists who are like, by the way, Sergio Gomez, who who both know, experimenting with augmented reality. But there are some artists who are just, painters or I don't know, like fabric artists or something. So who are working with very, very tangible kind of media. So are they represented on voice.com as well? And can you give us a little bit, like a few examples of how this kind of people can think, out of the box to get their work into NFT?
That's a great question. Yes, and I don't have exact percentages that I can give you about, comparing digital versus not digital artists, but I would say it does sway definitely towards those who began or focus on a digital medium, just because this is
It's
kind of
easier.
like their
Yeah.
opportunity, right? Like this is
Yeah.
their moment. But at the same time, we have a ton of artists who are exploring how to bring their medium into the digital space, which has been really fun. So I like, the easy example is a painter, right? Who might say, okay, I'll take a picture of my painting, put it online as an NFT. Great. But we just did an event with New York Academy of Art, and one of the artists there, he painted this gorgeous painting, and then he digitized it and added some like animation elements to it. So it's a painting of a fishing boat in a storm, and it like the water moves ever so slightly, and the lightning kind of flickers, and so the you can see the painting very clearly still, like the work is still the same, but it's got this added element as a way to kind of bring it into this new space. One of the examples that I really love is Zoe Buckman was a part of our first residency last year, and she makes physical works. I think she refers to herself, if I'm correct, as like a sculpture artist, but she's sewing and she's creating. And she did a collaboration with a video artist and a poet. And so she had the sculpture that Zoe made. She had the videographer capture this like really beautiful close-up video of it. And then the poet or a musician, she did a few of them, was like covering that track. So it was just a way to bring this physical art into the digital space. So I think, that's one of the things that I'm most excited to watch over the next few years, is how people experiment with this. But I do want to say that like not every medium translates perfectly into the digital space. And I think that I've also heard from a lot of people saying, I feel like I can experiment and like discover a new type of working, in addition or separate from my, my physical traditional practice. And it's become a place where they can experiment without the pressure of kind of replicating their success in one specific medium and exploring a different one.
So in your experience with voice, and thank you for that explanation, because it's to me it's very interesting, because I have no idea except for taking a picture and adding some augmented reality on top of that. Like this is where my imagination kind of stops. The way you describe it, it sounds like the voice platform or the NFT space for artists is the way of experimenting and kind of taking their art on a different level, which I appreciate personally, because another conversation that I had like a couple of seasons ago with someone from the economic background, we were talking mostly about the NFT as a marketplace, specifically like sort of like an auction, like an investment platform. Mm-hmm. So in your experience working with the art community and being involved in building the art community on the basis of the NFT platform, what do you see more of artists? Is that another creative outlet for them more than an investment platform, or the vice versa?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say it's both. I definitely, people are experimenting, people are using it as a creative outlet for sure. But the vast majority of people who are getting involved in the space are doing it to earn money. And I think that the coolest thing about it is that it allows artists to sell at like different price points and different segmentation than they might be able to in the traditional world, right? So you can appeal to a much broader group of potential collectors when you're selling digitally. So you might have this physical sculpture, right, that is quite pricey, right, because of all the like manual labor it took. But then you turn it into a augmented reality sculpture, and you can sell 50 of them. right? And so there you're able to lower the price, and bring more collectors into your ecosystem. So it is like, I spend a lot of time thinking and talking about how this is an opportunity for digital artists to get to be supported economically, and to I think there's a statement that basically was like turned digital art into like a viable career, that you can support yourself in.
You just mentioned 50 pieces of NFT made out of one physical sculpture, let's say. I was under impression that NFT is to create one token that is,
Yep.
It exists in there's only one of them exists, and
Yeah.
the only one considered to be original NFT. So you were talking about like limited editions.
Yeah, so it's an additions functionality. So each of those additions is unique, right? But it might be the same piece of creative. So it's kind of like a print in the art world.
Okay, all right, but each of them has their own kind of a unique signature.
Exactly.
Okay, so you can track every single one.
I own edition number 32.
Okay.
And you might own 34, and they look the same, but they each have their own digital signature.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because I haven't heard about that possibility before with NFT. Let's take a short coffee break. This podcast is the passion project that I produce and finance myself. If you want to support the show, you are welcome to volunteer, but the easier way is to just buy me a coffee. There's a link for it in the show notes and on our website, intheartscene.com. Thank you for your support. Since we're talking about this topic, I wanted to touch a little bit on the monetary perspective. So artists, from what I understand, artists is in charge of setting on their own price. The platform takes 5%. And this is the primary sale, which is the first sale. That's what I understand. So how things are working further down the line when the NFT is being resold from one owner to another?
Yes,
from the money perspective.
Yes, absolutely. So on secondary sales, what's tertiary, secondary sales on our platform fee is 2.5%, and the original creator is always going to get 10% of resale. So if your NFT goes out there and just continues to move in the market, it's always going to have some sort of tie back to you as an artist. And that's automatic, which I love. Like, it's all tracked on the blockchain. It all goes directly to your account. There's not really, there's zero extra effort that you need to pay attention to.
So is it added to the price or like a tax to someone who is buying the second time or third time? Or is it
No, it gets taken out of the sale price. Yeah.
So the seller is basically paying for that.
I'm trying to think of the best. Yeah, I'm going to do math in real time. Okay, so if you sell your NFT for $100 for the first time, the seller is going to pay $100. You are going to get $95. Then I resell it for, let's say, again, I resell it for $100. Yeah, those percentages come out of that 100. It's not added on top.
Okay, I see. Okay, got it.
You can see math is not my strong suit. I even tried to use $100 and it was still hard.
I think we will understand. Okay, how it works now. All righty. All right. So let's jump from math, which we don't like, onto the community building and all the programs that you have for artists, because that sounds really amazing.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, before we launched the platform, we spent a ton of time talking to people. We just, we looked at the market, we looked at what was happening, we talked to people. We're like, what are you missing? What are you looking for? And that's how we really launched our first beta, or our beta platform, this past August. And we also did that alongside a creator residency, in which we partnered with both artists from the traditional world who have already kind of established themselves. So Kimberly Drew, Masan Harriman, folks like that. And then we also partnered with, artists of various disciplines who had not explored NFTs yet. And we worked with that group together to kind of explore how they might go about entering the NFT space, and learned from them, and then helped, change and build the platform around them and their experiences. And that that was such an incredible experience, because again, when you're building every day and you're in the weeds of like launching a product, it's hard to kind of take a step back and be a user without kind of any sort of bias. And so from my perspective, that's the same path I took with community building, is really, how can I serve the people who are creating on this platform? How can I best listen to them and take their feedback and then implement it? And like really also create an environment where everyone feels supportive of one another, right? Like, what you use a platform primarily because of what it offers you technologically, right? But you stay on a platform because the people you're surrounded with and the opportunities you're provided. So I'm hyper focused on the community building element, and so the combination of those factors, the success of the first residency, a lot of feedback we got from our community, led us to launch a second season of the NFT residency, which actually just kicked off today. Cool. And we had an amazing kickoff call with the folks who we selected, and we had like over 1,300 applicants. So it clearly there's a need for something like this. And so we're going to do more, of course. But just the idea that we can provide people with resources they need to get started, give them education, give them support. And that is, again, we'll get their feedback, right? So it's a mutually beneficial opportunity. So we have the main residency, the season 2, and then we also partnered with Women Rise, an incredible NFT project, and focused on obviously providing access and education to women. And we're going to do a second residency with them, and hopefully many more.
Awesome. So how does this work? The NFT residency, is it also happening in a digital space, or you actually have like a physical space where people get together?
I wish we did. Okay. It is digital, which actually is very cool though, because today on our kickoff call, we had people from at least 4 continents, I think, on the phone, which is really nice. And maybe not 4, 3, at least 3, many different, locations. And basically you get a stipend to begin your creation process with, you get a bonus on your first month of sales. And then you get marketing and technical support from our team. And so it's like a month to 2 month digital residency. And part of the reason we've done it, we've built it this way, is that we want to make it scalable so that we can bring more and more people into this ecosystem, and continue to offer these resources to as many people as possible.
How many of those residencies are you planning to do during, like, in the year? And is it free for artists to join?
It is free.
Okay.
And I'm smiling because if we had our way, it would be a lot of residencies. Okay. My colleague Eliza, who runs them, is like, okay. We have 3 in the works right now, with plans for many more. So this is going to be an ongoing program that we run.
Okay, that's cool. So this episode is going to air in the middle of August. Wow. So if you have, I'm telling you, I'm preparing it well in advance.
Oh man. Okay.
So if you have something in the calendar for that period of time, it's a perfect opportunity to plug it in right now.
I don't plan that far in advance.
All right.
Hopefully by August we'll have done like 10 residencies.
I will circle back with you before the episode goes on air anyway. So you probably will have something in the lines, and I'll make sure to add it to the show notes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited to think about where we'll be in August.
Yeah, it will be a full year of the platform, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, they're
Yeah.
really doing such big things.
So, okay, the next question I actually had, you were talking about, so you have groups of artists who were kind of established or at least digital native. Then you have other artists who are joining the residencies, and you're helping them, walking them through the like the whole production of that, how to develop an idea, how to mint it, how to market it, right?
Mhm.
So, but there's a whole layer of artists, let's say in their like in the beginning of the mid-career, who want to try themselves in the NFT. They're joining the platform, it's free, they're kind of playing with tools, etc., etc., but they still need to be able to market themselves. Let's say they don't have a huge following on Instagram, they don't have a huge collectors who are interested in the digital assets,
Mhm.
because like there was a popular reel at some point on Instagram. It's like, look, this is my painting. It's like NFT, but you can touch it. So they're
Yeah.
kind of, their mindset is in that area, and their collectors are more like collectors of physical, tangible art. Um, what would you advise them? How would you recommend them to approach uh, marketing of their newly created NFT?
That's a great question. So, a few things. First, we are spending a lot of effort on, bringing the digital collectors that do exist onto the platform to make sure that they're syncing up, because we believe we have the world's best digital creators, and so we want to let them know that we're here and that this art is absolutely incredible for them to get on board. So there's that effort, of course. And but I do think that, I said this before, is like what digital art does is it actually expands the like ability to become a collector. Like I don't have any like fancy physical art, right? But I do have NFTs, and you're able to kind of become a part of this world in a way that you didn't used to be able to before. So I think for people who are launching their collections, I would say be patient. On average, it takes people a few months to get really, not to make the NFTs, so that's easy, but really to kind of get up to speed in how to talk about it, how to share it out there, and kind of like build up awareness in your own community and your own collector base. So be patient, number one. But two, like consider looking beyond who you might just find as a typical art collector. Like a lot of people have told me that their family members are able to support them for the first time before, because now they can either afford or store, just really be a part of supporting individuals. And so I think, yeah, patience and expansion of your definition of what a collector is.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Um, do you, I know that you communicate with artists a lot.
Yeah.
Do you communicate with collectors at all? And if you do, I am interested in the collector's point of view, because like if I collect the art, like, and I'm one of those people who like, oh, I want to touch it. I want to see it all the time on my wall, or elsewhere. So with NFT, like I got it, I store it somewhere in the cloud or on my computer or hard drive, whatever. What do I do with it? I just kind of, being happy knowing that I have it, or
Yeah.
like, what do people do? What do collectors do with it?
Yeah. Yeah, so we do talk to collectors, and talk a lot about this. And I think what has emerged are two primary motivations for collecting digital art. There is one portion of group people who are doing it purely to support artists, right? They're saying like, I want this artist to be able to continue to make more work. I am a patron of their work. They may or may not display or look at this art, but really they're doing it for that direct one-to-one support, when where 95% of what they're paying goes directly to the artist. That's a pretty good percentage. And then there's this other group who are definitely in it for either the visual element or the display element of it, or kind of the societal implications of being an art collector, which is also great because they are kind of helping push the NFT space forward and making us ask those questions. What do you do with this work once you own it? So a very common first step is a digital frame, right? So this is, some people like museums are using like TVs really, but there are also like specifically created art frames that you can hang your NFT in your home, very similarly to how you might hang a painting, but you can hang more than one. They can cycle through. That's really fun. Depending on, what type of ownership you get when you buy the NFT, you might be able to, if you own the rights to it, you might be able to turn it into something. So into stickers or, whatever creative ways you want to kind of bring this art to life. So I think this is one of those areas that I'm watching very closely over the next year. And I think a lot of unique use cases are going to emerge as we're in the space. And it's funny because when you said, I like having the physical art to display, I had my initial reaction was like, that's exactly how I feel about books. It's like, it's not a one-to-one comparison, but I'm very much a physical book person. I like to display them. I like to hold them. But at the same time, I've gotten into a Kindle as of late because of it offers me flexibility and, I'm able to, it's portable and all those things. So I think that there's a world where both can exist, and I'm excited to see what happens.
That's a great comparison. Yeah, it is. Do you see the percentage of collectors who are doing it specifically as the investment effort?
Yes, for sure. Not so much, because we avoid like the kind of speculative game, like the buying to flip NFTs kind of practice. We don't see that as much on Voice, but we have seen a really healthy secondary market of people buying art that they believe in and then reselling it to, which benefits both obviously them and the artist. But not nearly as much as you might expect, given what's happening elsewhere in the NFT space.
Okay, and you also mentioned the rights. If the buyer owns the rights, so is this for the artist to determine?
Yes.
Okay, and how does this work?
Yeah. So according to the like standard agreement, when you're selling an NFT in Voice, you're really selling the token representation of that art, but you can, people can put it in the description of their NFT. I've seen people say, if you buy this, I'll send you there's a few different things that you can say. And then of course, like that is it's not binding because it's in the description, but it's, a relationship between the artist and their collector. But I think that we'll see, more and more of this as people kind of like play around with how they would like to utilize the technology, but the platform, it's not built into the platform. You're only buying the token through us.
Okay, I have another kind of curious question. So when artist is creating a file that is minted into NFT, obviously when it's minted, it gets the unique signature, so you can track it. Have you ever come across artists using the same image or the same exact digital creation on different NFT platforms?
I think it happens. I would say it's not best practice because obviously your collectors aren't going to like that very much.
Yeah.
But we don't, we don't go out there kind of like, cross examining the work. So there's just sheer volume wise not possible. But I would say for collectors, definitely to do their research before making any purchases. I would say though, now that I'm thinking of it, some creators will, put works up for sale on multiple platforms, and they'll promise to burn the NFT on whichever platform it does not get sold on. So they might have a copy on two platforms. They sell it on one, they'll burn it on the other.
All right. Well, and this is kind of interesting because this is, I think we're entering the conversation of how this market is going to develop going forward, because it's so new. There's no specific rules, there's no specific regulations or ethics, right, that exists. So it's kind of, we do have an understanding that it's really not a best practice, and you kind of have to think about your collectors and respect them, and if you promise to burn the NFT on another platform, you should do that. But again, I think we have bad actors everywhere. It's probably going to happen. So how do you see the development of that aspect of the market, like the rules, regulations, ethics, et cetera, going forward?
That's a great question, and one that is somewhat outside the realm of my expertise. I do think that there's a lot, because the industry is so hot right now, and because there's so much going on. It is ripe for people taking advantage of it. I think things are going to settle and stabilize, and give the regulations and platforms like a chance to kind of catch up and come up with a way to better protect folks and to kind of put guardrails around what individuals are doing. One way that we have preempted some bad behavior is we require KYC, which is know your customer, for folks who are withdrawing money from our platform, which means they have to submit a government ID. That obviously cuts down on a lot of behavior that we don't want our artists to have to deal with. So I think that more and more of these kind of systems will emerge. But again, we're so early in this space that I don't expect any of the I don't want to say anything, but it's going to take years for us to kind of get to a place where we have answers to all of these questions.
I hear a lot of the advocates of the blockchain system saying that the best thing about the blockchain is that it is not regulated by any government. Mm-hmm. So do you think it's going to be different for the fine art NFT space, or do you think that narrative is going to prevail?
I think that, we are intending to occupy a space that abides by, regulations and legal requirements. To exist without any sort of authority system is extremely, extremely difficult, right? Because it's for us, at least, we're allowing people to buy with credit cards, right? So our credit card providers they do have regulations and laws that they have to follow, which means that we, therefore, to partner with them, have to do the same. It would be very difficult, I think, to kind of operate in an entirely unregulated white space. And that's not necessarily kind of the focus that we have, because in order, if we follow regulations and guidelines, we protect our artists, and that's ultimately what we've set out to do.
All right. Well, that gives me a lot of comfort because I don't think a lot of blockchains are actually going after this narrative. A lot of blockchains are specifically about this is a free world. We are we don't want to be regulated because it kind of goes against the whole idea. Yeah. But I do think that for artists to be able to, or to have a peace of mind that their work is protected, because a lot of artists are facing a lot of scam in the physical world and in a digital world where, especially if they are not very much used to it, like the analog artists that we were talking about, it's even more difficult to protect themselves.
Yeah, we are, we're subject to DMCA, just other platforms are, and we follow that to protect artists. I think we kind of occupy what we call Web 2.5, which is the middle ground between the tech world as we know it right now and the tech world that we're evolving into. And I like that that middle ground because it seems to me to serve all parties.
All right. So we're getting close to the top of the hour. And this is where I usually ask my guests, like, do you have anything that I didn't ask you but you wanted to bring to the conversation?
Oh, I love that. I ask this question a lot when I'm interviewing people,
Uh-huh.
but I don't often get asked it, and such a good one. I mean, I think that I feel like I've talked about kind of like my hope that that people give NFTs a chance as really all they offer, but don't feel like again that they need to rush into anything. The environmental aspect is a big one that I'm glad that we covered. Um, I guess a question that I get asked a lot that I really like is like, do I think any industries will be like exempt from NFTs? Like, do I think that any industries will just like totally not pay any attention or get involved? And I think no, I think that this is going to be everywhere, and it's starting with the art world, really, which is kind of a benefit to the art world to get a leg up. But then I think it's going to permeate so many other of our societal, um, you know, areas. And I think that because just the pure power of the technology and the benefit that it has for people, it's going to be everywhere, but not in the next year, like in the next 5 to 10 years.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you taking time today with me. And again, you gave me a lot of comfort. This conversation was, I really needed it. Ever since I heard your interview with Sergio Gomez, I was like, okay, this is the person who is going to shed a lot of light on like lots of my questions, because I am highly skeptical. I don't see myself entering the NFT world anytime soon. Although, based on what you were telling me, is like, okay, this is like Etsy. I might try. I just need to come up with a cool idea how to make my art look interesting on in a digital space. I do really appreciate your standpoint of erring on the side of caution, and doing as a platform, doing as much as you can do to support and protect artists. So that was like the biggest thing for me to take out of this conversation.
I'm glad that that came through, because that is truly what I care most about, and why I'm here.
All right. Well, so how can people find you? And I will list everything in the show notes, and yeah, I'll absolutely tag you on all the social media. But just verbalize it. How can people find you? How can they find you personally if you're open to receive any questions, and how they can find the platform and join?
Absolutely. So we're lucky enough to have a great domain. So we're justvoice.com. So relatively easy to find there. Across social media, we're at Voice HQ. So if you reach out to any of us on any of those platforms, I'm likely to see it. I am also at Emily K. Drewry on Twitter. If you want to send me a DM, I'm relatively speedy at getting back to them. So feel free to reach out. I love having these conversations. I dedicate a decent amount of my time per day to talk to people about NFTs. So happy to meet your community.
Awesome. Well, actually, I just came up with another question. Why voice?
Yes. Great question. So the idea is that like the voice is back in the hands of the people. We're giving, artists a voice and a way to kind of, not be subject to, let me say that again. We're giving a voice back to artists and creators and allowing them to control their own destiny.
Well, it's good to know. And now it makes sense, because after the first time I was like, vision.com, vision. I was, and actually, yeah. I think I've seen some other people doing the same thing, like on some other podcasts. They're like, yeah, there's that platform. It's kind of easy, like the domain is easy, vision. Because NFT is all about visual, right?
Yeah. A lot of people think we're like an audio only platform. I'm like, no, we're everyone. It's just giving raising our voice kind of messaging.
All right. So, okay, I'm really happy for you to take time again on your busy schedule, because I know we've been trying to schedule it for a while. I'm really happy that we're wrapping up this season with this specific conversation, because it's not that very often that I can actually bring a good educational content to all my listeners. I hope this episode will go viral. So people, if you're listening, please make sure that you're sharing because everyone needs to know that. All right. Well, thank you so much again. And I will see you next time in the art scene.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple and go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.